Hey, Alpha Fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, I'm actually with one of my affiliate partners, Chart Prime. They've been kind enough to allow me to use their suite of products, and I have agreed to do a series of reviews on them, giving my honest opinion. And to help with that, I've actually enlisted one of Chart Prime's key members here, OC Guy. He does a series of streams on their Discord. We're in their Discord right now, and this is his screen that you're seeing being streamed. He gives tutorials and walkthroughs on a regular basis. OC Guy, hello, welcome.
Hey, what's up, Alpha Sky? Very nice to be part of your video and your interview. I'm very happy to be here. And also, we had to move into the Discord because of technical issues, but very glad to be around you. So let me know, how can I help and how am I useful?
Okay, so first of all, how often do you give these tutorials in the Chart Prime Discord?
So on the Chart Prime Discord, we are live from Monday to Saturday, and we have also that is for the premium community, but also for the free community, we have Wednesday TA Talk with Army Piper, and also we have Saturday the morning coffee. So those are open to the public, so anybody can join. And besides that, I also keep uploading on extra education. I upload when I enter a trade, when one analysis pops up. So also when I do teach one or two new strategies. So just to keep up with the changing times and what's happening in the market. So basically, we are Monday to Sunday pushing out new content. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to underscore that first because, if I'm going to introduce a product to the members of my group or to the viewers of my YouTube, I want to make sure that they feel like they're supported. And one of the things that I like about Chart Prime is that when I go into your Discord, usually there's some type of session that's either just happened or there's one that's just being planned. And I do like that you walk through TA, you help people with the indicators to learn strategies, and so there's a lot of support there. And I feel like if somebody subscribes to you, it's not like they're just receiving something that they put on their trading view and then good luck figuring it out. You actually have a hand to hold through the process. And I just really appreciate that about you guys. And I do see that you guys make a lot of updates to your products. And then you do those walkthroughs for the updates so everyone understands what's going on. And I just think that's really cool because a lot of indicators that are sold out there on the market, they don't have that type of support. They don't have that community to go to. And OC Guy has been one of the guys I've noted who's very reliable in that. So that's why I've offered to have him speak today. Now, just to keep it short and sweet, we're going to do a series of introductions on the main indicators in their suite of products. And the first one that I'd like to start with is the Prime Oscillator. And Osiga, if you don't mind, would you please take us through kind of a big picture view of the Prime Oscillator? How does it work? How do you look at it in terms of macro trends and micro trends? And maybe you could do a little bit of comparison to the stochastic or the RSI, just so that we have a little bit of comparison since it is an oscillator. And the RSI and the stochastic are two of the most popular oscillators out there. And then maybe you can give us a little bit of a features walkthrough so we understand what we're getting with the Prime Oscillator.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Just to get started, the oscillator is one of our most densely packed indicators. It has so much going on, and probably we won't have enough time to go over every single nut and cranny that we offer on the oscillator. But I would love to work alongside with you, and so we can develop maybe a little bit more videos along the way for your alumni or your community. But as an overall picture, one of our main selling points on an oscillator, it is that we combine many things like overbought, oversold divergences. We also pack something like squeeze momentum, and I say something like because it works very similarly to squeeze momentum by Lazy Beer, just in case you relate to it. But it is mathematically different. But as you may say, you may recognize by me giving the example, sometimes you can be using these tools in a different way, and that's also something that we try to teach in the community, right? To use it your
Hmm.
way. Like for example, a gym weight, right? That could be, I mean, is meant to be used as a in the gym, but sometimes it could be very, very reliable as a doorstop, right? So sometimes it goes like that way. So let me walk through
Right.
a couple of things that I
And
have here.
maybe you can just kind of widen the chart out a little bit so that we narrow in on a little bit more of the price action. Yeah, there we go. Just so we can kind of see it at work, and then we can maybe make a vertical line or something so that we can align the price action with the oscillator. Do you have the vertical line tool when you're in your line drawings? Yeah, just if we
Yeah,
place one,
absolutely.
and then you can more easily point out visually when we record this.
Perfect. I would like to start with the generals and then show you a very cool trick where I'm gonna be using that line. Would you be cool with that, or would you like me to get started with
Oh
right
yeah,
away with that line?
absolutely. Yeah. Take it away.
Perfect. All right, sorry for that. I tried to build up a little bit of that, like things revealing themselves. But yeah, by the way, again, I talked a lot. Feel free to interrupt me, and then we can edit the video as we go, or repeat it, whatever. So yeah, Alpha Sky, absolutely. Let's get started with the overall view on the oscillator. The first thing that I want to show you guys, it is what we call the zero line. All right, so this zero line is nothing like very, very out of this world. It's just basically a line where we have a threshold. But something very, very important about this zero line, it is that it gives you a ton of information. Look at this, for example, as we break, and I'm talking about this middle ribbon, which is this fast moving thing on the oscillator, as we break above that zero line, and then as we break below that zero line, all right? And we can keep doing this over and over. And stick with me because I'm going to be showing you something very, very cool in here. All right. And I'm going to be holding this overall section and I'm going to be dropping a little bit this chart so we can see this. So let me ask you something here, Alpha Trade. And on the oscillator, where do you see most of the action happening based on that zero line? Is it above or below? I mean, I know it's true that we have a couple of spikes in here, but where is the most or majority of the action happening based on that zero line? Is it above or below?
Sure, for the segment you're pointing out, of course it's above.
Perfect, perfect. Yes. And I mean, we try to make this very obvious, absolutely. But look at this. What has happened to the price action? It has been consistently going up. And as you also show on your videos and your analysis, I mean, the trend is usually a set of highs and lows, but overall, the movement on this whole trend has been to the upside, right? And as we can see, yes, we keep moving or keep being above that zero line and we keep pumping up on that price action. Let me show you what happens in another segment in here, right? So when we start zooming in here and we look for that section as we break below and maybe as we break back above, and sometimes it can take a little bit of time in there. There we go. As we break back above, well, we're going to be seeing that the oscillator or the price action based on the oscillator might be below that area. So if we zoom in, we can start marking back above, back below, back above, and back below. And we see that price action on what those areas are marking. Look at that. Most of the action is below, and we see the overall price action going down. As we break back above and we stay above, we see that price action pumping up. So that is one of the most important parts on the oscillator, the overall general direction that the price could be either pumping or dumping or directing. That will, along a trend, will guide you through taking better trades in more accurately way.
Okay, great. So, by the way, would you mind making the vertical lines just a little bit thicker or darker so that we can see them easier on the on perhaps mobile?
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure there.
Oh, yeah. So this is pretty common for an oscillator, right? But of course, there's going to be other signals that are going on inside of the prime oscillator that make it a little bit more powerful of a tool than just your generic off-the-shelf oscillator showing momentum. Could you walk us through some of those?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So let's get started with the basis. The first of all, let me just remove the oscillator so you can see how it looks when we get started. On that, you can just go into your invite only charts and don't worry about all the charts that I have here. Usually there are pieces breaking down as we develop and improve the indicators, but I'm going to be adding the Prime Oscillator Pro. That is the one that you should also be having, which is the final product right there. So it seems like here we go. It's adding. So the first thing that you're going to be granted with it is that meter ribbon and also the zero line. I do take a one step further in here, which is configuring it, going to visible, sorry, to style, scrolling down in here and changing just the appearance. And I know this might be a little bit going around your question, but bear with me because this is going to give you a little bit more insight on how to use in a pro way your indicator. On my zero line, I want to make it a little bit thicker and be very visible. On my bullish control line, I want to make it green and placing here negative 95. And that is to give me a possible channel that is going to be related to the RSI. You asked me to compare it to the RSI, and I think this is a great way to do so in showing you guys how it stands out from a classical indicator other than having improved mathematics within it build up,
And
right?
OC guy, do
And
you
we're going to
mind
be having
making
this.
those lines just a little bit thicker, just for the recording, just because of how it'll be visible on the screen? Perfect. And so what he's doing here, just for my viewers, is he's creating essentially a bullish control zone and a bearish control zone. He's giving himself a little bit of a buffer room for which to look for signals within that zone. Is that correct, OC guy?
That is exactly correct. Yes, because usually on the other side, and I did pop it up here. Let me show you guys how it compares to, right? Oh, this is RSI Prime. Sorry. Let me bring up the real RSI or the classical RSI. So
Right. They've
RSI,
got
here we go.
an advanced RSI also, so.
Yeah, we do. And that is a free indicator, by the way. That is a free indicator. So we're gonna be having a classical RSI here, and as you might be seeing and you guys might be relating to it, when this is changing as we keep moving. Like if you see in the past, yes, this is very clear, but like for example, if we go to the latest section and then we start printing up or below, above or below this overbought and oversold zones, well then you'll see that we could keep getting overbought, 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 overbought almost infinitely. And you never know when is it actually changing, right? So in this case, that's why we're giving us this channel in here or this threshold channel. So when we are jumping into that area, and let me make that a little bit bigger so we can clearly see it. When we are getting in, and I'm talking about the ribbon getting into this threshold area, we're going to be plotting golden boxes. Oh, sorry for that. Let me just switch it. Here we go. And you'll see that it is a calculation pair candle. So you have the latest and most updated information. Each golden box is referring that we are in overbought zones. All right. So we keep getting overbought and overbought and overbought, right? The next thing, which is one of the pro tips that I teach in here, is going to be the flip of the ribbon. When this ribbon start flipping or have that sharp edge, all right, that is changing direction, that's going to be your vertex. And then to finalize it, when you start breaking out of that overbought channel, is giving you an OB text, which is telling you, hey, buddy, you know what? It's time now to look at your charts because you are retracing on that overbought area. And look at how well that played out. You see that if we start looking at those overboughts and also at the flip of the ribbon, we could basically start catching very nice tops and then also a further continuation on that area as we have a overbought. Let me show you a couple of examples in there. Like And it also works the other way around. Look at this area here, and what I'm looking at this point, it is when I start having those overbought and those flip of the ribbon. As you can see, this is my main early confirmation, my main early signal. And as I keep moving out of that threshold zone, that is for a threshold of entry. If you maybe are waiting for one more candle, or maybe waiting for another kind of information, and it start giving you that entry for that moving upwards and downwards. Also, what is very neat about our oscillator in this case, since we have a very dramatic peak, I mean, this is no surprise, all right? But what happens when we are not on the other side, overbought or oversold? As you can see, our indicator here, Chart Prime's main indicator, did give you that overboughtness, all right? And as we start reversing, it also gives you a reversal signal, which is this red triangle that we can see below that golden box in here. And as you can see, we very neatly went back into that reversal, therefore giving you a very nice possible entry right there for a short position as we start having that flip of the ribbon. So
And
as
I
you might be
noticed you
able to
also
see,
have
yep.
a red line before that mark, and that is a divergence. Is that correct that you've set up?
Exactly. This line that we have going on in here, those are our divergence detecting system. So we have a very varied divergence here. So the green ones are usually at the bottom. And let me see if I can find one for you. Oh, it should be, here we go. We have a couple of green ones in here. And let me walk you through those color codes, all right? So the green ones, it's for bullish normal divergence, classical divergence, right? Red, they're usually go, and I like to change for this red for bearish classical divergences. Then we have yellow, which are hidden bullish divergences, and then we have orange for hidden bearish divergences. So if you like to trade on those kind of divergences, you can. But in my case, like for example, just based on my own way of trading, I usually turn off the hidden divergences because, as you may tell, sometimes those hidden divergences doesn't play out as strongly as the normal divergences. So I try to keep my chart as clean as possible because I need to admit that I'm a little bit of a messy drawer sometimes. So yeah, so
Hmm.
those are our divergence systems.
Yeah, and I appreciate these tips. And can you pull up the price action for that area? So can you go back to where those bullish divergences were, and then just show us the price
Absolutely.
action that went along with it because it was kind of hidden on the screen. And yeah, so you can see coming off of those divergences, we did end up getting a nice spike right where you have a green arrow at the bottom of the indicator, and that's also where the divergences were connecting, and you can see that we did get a nice spike on it. So again, one of the reasons why I asked OC Guy to introduce this indicator is because I do like it. I use the stochastic and I use the RSI myself quite often. I show strategies with it in the Alpha Commission Discord, and for trading, I think they're incredibly powerful. But I do like that the oscillator brings some additional confluences, and it just has its own flavor to it, and I found that it gives me a higher confidence when I'm using the RSI and the stochastic, which themselves they usually don't have any other signals than just their oscillation. Maybe you can throw an EMA band on top of the RSI or something, but other than that, you're really left to figure out divergences and kind of signals. And so the prime oscillator is delivering this set of signals that go along with the confluences that we might find on some traditional indicators, and then you're merging it all together into this algorithm that you guys have put forward. And I find that I really like this oscillator. I just wanted to put that out there. So yeah, please if there's any features that we've missed, I think that we're running about 20 minutes now, and I'd like to just kind of summarize those ones and see if there's anything that you particularly like about this oscillator, and any other recommendations you might have for settings.
Absolutely. So just a quick add on here, just for the also advanced users. When I started trading, I started and I related a lot to the squeeze momentum indicator by Lazy Beer. And on top of that, because that squeeze momentum indicator kind of like it was a little bit behind the price action, I needed to forecast my analysis, and therefore I added an ADX on top of it, so I could be looking at strength. Right. The important thing
Right.
on this oscillator, and that I believe that we did not really went in depth in this, it is that we are showing you momentum. That is important because how do you get momentum? Let's relate it to the physical world, right? Momentum is usually speed and mass, right? If you start translating that to trading terms, that ends up being something like volume and something like money flow, right? So we start
Right.
using the money flow as speed and then the volume as mass. Well, we have that compensating measurement that will be moving as fast as it can and also faster than volume. Therefore, you don't need to wait for a big volume that usually ends up giving you that big volume spike when you're already all the way there, and then you are into for a very dangerous trade there, as you can see. And as you point out, along with that divergences, we can start seeing and preparing for that trade to start taking place on it. And it works on all of these scales, in macro scales, mid scales, and micro scales also. So to summarize things, we have reversals as standalone with these triangles. We have the overbought or the overbought zoning here, a threshold, the oversold zone or threshold. We have momentum plot on the oscillator with this middle ribbon, and also we have divergences with these lines, and of course the middle zero line. If you let me add a little bit more advanced thing, is
Hmm.
I'm gonna be adding that bands in here, which these bands resemble to me that squeeze momentum that tells you in the short term where the price should be heading to. Like if we are, like for example, right here, let's say right here, if we are in the green cloud, well, as long as we are in the green cloud, that momentum is pushing upwards. That is telling you that whenever we are supposed to be moving upwards. Does that mean that we're going to be changing trend? No, and that is amazing. So if you are looking maybe to long it for a short period of time or short it for a short period of time, you can do so. And also, it's very interesting at times to taking profits. Like for example, we start seeing how in this case we start reversing and getting into the red, and that means that this is a good opportunity to start taking some profits. And maybe as we break previous highs and go for that retest, we could be adding into our next position as we have what I call the flip of the ribbon. Therefore, having a little bit of taking profits, maybe adding back to your position, and then continuing that trend as that evolves.
And
But
when
yeah,
we
I
began
think
this
that is an overall.
And when we began this video, I was asking you to go over what I was calling the macro versus micro trends. And just to distinguish
Mhm.
that, because this is language I actually picked up from Chart Prime themselves, but the macro trend is if you just want to, if you look at the Prime oscillator, you have those overbought and oversold zones, right? Those big red and big green bands. And so if you're in that area, and then OC guy marked, a secondary line at 95, percent, or at the 95 mark on the top side and the bottom side, just to give himself a little bit of a zone. Those are kind of like your macro reversal areas for whatever time frame you're on, right? Where you're going to see probably the biggest swings. But then what he's talking about right now is the red areas and the green areas within the momentum band, which can indicate micro trends, right? So, obviously price action doesn't go in a straight line. There's always going to be oscillations up and down. And so that can give you an indication, as he says, where to perhaps take a little bit of profit or maybe add to your position. And you're going to have to understand whether or not you're above that midline, right? How much strength
Yes.
is in the trend, because, just because something churns from red to green, it's not necessarily a buy or sell signal. You do have to understand how are you trending as well.
Exactly. That is exactly correct. And you can see that same example that you are talking about when we have these major reversals and then we end up breaking down into a low reversal zone. So, as you can see, those usually play out very nicely for swing trading.
Right, and we did have a little bit of a green area within that downtrend when we went from that top to the bottom. You can see on the ribbon itself, it actually turned from red to green at a couple points on the downtrend. But because you're coming from the macro top all the way, you're sharply dropping to the midline and below, you might understand that that's not necessarily a long signal just from the middle of the oscillator, right? So
Correct.
if you could show where you have that red, that white line across the red part of the ribbon, yeah, and then just follow the ribbon down slowly. Just follow the ribbon down slowly if you don't mind. Put your cursor over the, yeah, just follow it down. So you can see that we cross down below the midpoint, right, which is your middle line. And you can see this is quite bearish, right? This is a dramatic bearish downturn. And what happens if you keep following the ribbon, eventually it turns green again, right? Right? And this is just a point that I
Yeah.
would want to point out for my viewers, right? Just because we have a green spike, when you see this, you have to understand you're coming from the middle of an oscillator, right? And so while you might have some type of movement in the middle of an oscillator, it still doesn't mean that that's necessarily the best place to be making a trade. Just like when you're trading in the middle of a channel, you don't know if you're necessarily going to spike up or spike down from the middle of a channel, right, or a range. The best places to take trades are typically, either at resistance or support, depending on if you're going to short or long, right? And so same principle is here, where you do see then we lose the middle and we come all the way back down, and then that seems to be where you hit that kind of macro bar at the bottom, that macro green bar. Suddenly you're in an area where it makes sense to, perhaps be considering those buying positions. And when you build up these bullish divergences and you start getting, you got the blue dot, you got the green triangles, then you suddenly are in a position where you're seeing, oh, I see a higher low on the oscillator. Maybe I can take a chance on this, right? Maybe this is a macro reversal. I'm coming out of that 95% area, and so I've been at the macro low. I'm starting to build up this strength, and this is how I can start to build my position. And one thing that just new users tend to do when and make mistakes is that they just take every change, in an indicator as a buy or sell signal. But we really have to understand the context of it, right? Where if you're in a downtrend, then the signal that you're looking for is the red signal because you're in a downtrend and the trend is your friend until it ends, right? And only when you
Absolutely.
only when you finally get into that green zone and you show a little bit of strength, then you're saying, okay, now I'm in an uptrend and I'm looking for those green signals, until I kind of max out that trend to the upside. And so I just wanted to interject that there, because this is just a little bit of risk management that goes along with using any indicator, right? You have to understand the limitations of our tools as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, are there any other secret settings that you'd like to show us? Because I really like that 95 trick. And how else do you configure that? Or is this your optimal setup?
This is my optimal setup, but I do have a couple of more of other aces behind the sleeve, which is kind of like a moving into using something else to add that extra confluence. Usually, as you mentioned, looking for support and resistances, order blocks, or something else that adds that extra power. In fact, I could even go farther down. I don't know. Let's just move down into the charts, right? Whatever. You just say go or stop, and I'll stop whenever you tell me to.
Okay, stop.
All right, perfect. And in this case, I'm going to be going into this section and then also I'm going to be hiding the price action. This is going to be a little bit crazy, guys, and I don't recommend doing so. But this is to show you how powerful this indicator is and also how you start looking for those possible entries, right? So the first thing I'm going to be doing, it is basically looking at high confluence, right? So farther down the line, possible alpha. Sky could be talking about the clusters that we teach or that we have on the oscillator. But let me just bring up a couple of those clusters. Like, for example, a double top cluster. As you can see, there is a combination of two different things with a divergence in the middle. That usually is a very potent or very powerful indicator, and I'll be taking a possible short somewhere around here, right? So let's just go for that one and then turn on the price action. What happened right there? Well, then I do see it flipping back down. All right. Let me go hide again this one, and let me know whenever you want me to stop off a trade, and I'll do the same thing. So
Yeah, just stop. Yeah, just pick a random spot.
perfect. Yeah, and then we could be seeing possible this area or this area, or again, look at that double bottoms, or even better, like for example, where we have all of
Hmm.
those confluence. Remember, we are usually looking for confluence, but also confluence within the oscillator. So one of my pro tips or pro aces that I use is that look for those very neat spots to be taking some trades. Like for
Right.
example,
Not
for shorting,
every
I will probably
right. And something that I'd like to add is not every you don't have to always be trading, right? You can pick your optimal
exactly,
entries.
exactly, yes. And as you can see, I mean, we can have very, very nice results by just looking
Yeah,
at
that
that.
was a
And in
beautiful
this
setup.
case,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And usually I go to, like, for example, from high confluence to high confluence again, right? And then I decide whether if I should be taking profits or maybe 50% out or a little bit like that, right? So you can see right here was a little bit too early. Nonetheless, if you have your management right there, you could be avoiding that possible takeout on that trade. Let me show you. Like, for
Right.
example,
Well,
we
I mean,
had a
obviously, if
possible
you
entry
look at the
somewhere.
wick on that candle, they were obviously liquidating people before they pushed the chart back up, right? So the market makers also have their say in this, but ultimately you did get that, 1,000%, $1,000 move to the upside, right? So not too bad.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, so far I believe that looking at the clusters that maybe in the future in an advanced class we can talk about, that will be another very interesting take on a advanced trickery or trick, sorry, advanced tricks on the oscillator.
Hmm. Well, thank you for your time today, OC guy. Now you see why I'm breaking this down into multiple segments. We've gone about 30 minutes talking about the prime oscillator just by itself, and obviously there's more to learn. So you can see that it is a very powerful tool. It does incorporate a lot of the traditional indicators that you guys might be looking or want to use, but it puts it into a nice package where you can literally just trade off of this oscillator. But if you are using Chart Prime, and I'll have a link. In the description of the video, using my link does also support this channel. And guys, of course, I just always want to make sure to be fair with you and straight with you. And so if I do have any problems with these things, I've told Chart Prime just straight out that I'm just going to be giving my honest opinions on it. I do really love this oscillator, and I will be continuing to look at it in the future. And perhaps OC Guy will help teach me more tricks as we go along. But again, you guys know that I am a big believer in using the stochastic and the RSI just to make trading uh, less stressful, right? Our goal is not to have a stroke, not to have a heart attack while trading. And if you're just freaking out about every little candle because you're trying to measure everything yourself, yes, there are personality types that can do that, right? I mean, they're just like geniuses. But for most of us, we want to be able to enjoy our day. We need to see some type of a clear indications without adding that stress to our lives. And these type of indicators, while it's just a tool, and tools can be imperfect, and there's no silver bullet in trading. I really find that this one does add something, and so I am going to keep mentioning it in the Discord, and perhaps invite OC Guy back from time to time. Guys, that's your alpha for the day. OC Guy, thank you for joining us so much, and we'll get we'll get back in touch in about 5 minutes for the next segment. But that's your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.